Hey there, ready for a deep dive?
I am, absolutely.
Awesome. Today we're exploring kind of an unconventional approach to relationships.
Unconventional is an understatement.
It really is, right? The idea is that sometimes stepping back can actually make you more attractive.
It does seem counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It does. It goes against a lot of the typical dating advice out there.
Yeah.
But we're going to dive into why this approach might actually work.
So are we talking about, like, playing hard to get? Is that the gist?
It's not exactly about playing games, though. That could be a part of it. It's more about understanding the psychology behind attraction.
Okay, so less about tactics, more about the underlying principles.
Exactly. We're going to be looking at 10 key points that explain this whole stepping back thing.
10 points. All right, I'm ready. Lay them on me.
Okay, point number 1, the power of absence.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder. That's what they say.
Right, that's the classic saying. But let's dig a little deeper, Why might being constantly available actually make someone take you for granted?
I guess when something's always there, you kind of stop appreciating it. Like, if the sun was out 24/7, it wouldn't be as special.
That's a great analogy. So constant availability can actually diminish our perceived value.
It's almost like we become too easy to get, too predictable.
Exactly. It's the principle of scarcity. The rarer something is, the more desirable it becomes.
Makes sense. When you think about those limited edition items everyone goes crazy for.
Exactly. And it's not just about scarcity. There's also something called reactance theory. When we feel like our freedom to choose is being limited, we tend to want what we can't have even more.
Oh, so like reverse psychology, in a way.
Kind of. A little bit of distance can trigger that sense of longing and make someone more interested.
Interesting. So instead of smothering someone with attention, we give them space to miss us.
Precisely. Let's say we have a guy, we'll call him the overtexter. He's constantly blowing up his girlfriend's phone, always available at her beck and call. What kind of effect might that have on her?
Well, I can imagine she might start to feel a bit suffocated after a while. Like, maybe she doesn't feel like she has the space to miss him.
Exactly. And those constant messages might start to feel less like a thoughtful gesture and more like an expectation.
Yeah, like he's checking up on her, almost.
Right. Now, what if Mr. Overtexter decides to, pump the brakes a little, give her some space to breathe? What might happen then?
Well, she might start wondering, where is he? What's he doing? Why isn't he texting me?
And that curiosity can actually reignite her interest.
Because now there's a little mystery, right? A little something to figure out.
Exactly. By stepping back, he's inadvertently created an opportunity for her to miss him, to realize what she might be missing.
It's like sometimes we don't know what we've got till it's gone.
So true. Okay, point number 2 is distance sparks curiosity.
Curiosity, well, that's a powerful motivator, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're naturally drawn to the unknown, to what we don't fully understand.
It's like we're wired to want to solve puzzles, to figure things out.
Exactly. Now, let's think about this in the context of relationships. Constantly sharing every detail of our lives can actually backfire.
Really? Why is that? I think being open and honest would be a good thing.
It is, to an extent. But there's a difference between being open and oversharing. If we reveal everything about ourselves too quickly, it leaves no room for the other person to wonder.
Ah, so there's no challenge, no intrigue. It's, like you said before, too predictable.
Right. It's like reading the last page of a book first. Right. There's no journey of discovery, no suspense.
Okay, I get it. It's about pacing ourselves. Let them unravel the layers gradually.
Exactly. Let's say we have a woman, we'll call her Ms. An Open Book. She shares every little detail of her day with the guy she's dating. Just had a salad for lunch, stuck in traffic. Ugh. How might that impact him?
I'd imagine he'd get bored pretty quickly. Like, there's no mystery, no surprises.
Exactly. There's nothing left for him to discover. Now, imagine if Ms. Open Book starts holding back a little. She shares only the most interesting or meaningful parts of her day. What might happen then?
Well, now he's got to use his imagination a little. He starts wondering, what else is she up to? What's she not telling me?
And that curiosity can really pique his interest and make him want to learn more.
So it's not about being secretive, it's about creating a little intrigue, sparking those what-ifs.
Exactly. All right, point number 3 is scarcity versus desperation.
Okay, this sounds juicy. Scarcity and desperation, two very different vibes.
They are. And this one gets to the heart of why being too available can be a turnoff.
All right, break it down for me.
When we're constantly chasing after someone, showering them with attention, it can come across as a bit desperate.
Yeah, like you're trying too hard, which is never a good look.
Exactly. It can signal that we're not confident in ourselves or that we're trying to fill a void in our own lives.
And on the flip side, scarcity implies that you're in demand.
That's it. When we demonstrate that our time and attention are valuable, it creates a sense of scarcity. And as we know, scarcity often equals desirability.
Makes you think twice before giving it away too freely, huh?
Absolutely. So it's not about playing hard to get in a manipulative way.
Gotcha. It's more about being genuinely busy and having a life outside of the relationship.
Precisely. Let's say we have a guy, we'll call him the serial dater. He's always jumping from one relationship to the next, constantly seeking validation from others. What does that say about him?
I mean, it sounds like he can't be alone, like he needs someone else to feel complete.
That's a good point. Now let's contrast that with a guy who's, let's say, an independent spirit. He's got his own passions, his own friends, his own life that he's excited about. How might that impact the way he's perceived by women?
Well, he probably comes across as more confident, more secure in himself.
And that's incredibly attractive.
Definitely. Because it shows he doesn't need a relationship, he chooses to be in one. Big difference.
This is making me rethink my whole dating strategy. Okay, point number 4 is playing hard to get without playing games.
All right, this sounds tricky. How do we walk that line?
The key is authenticity.
Okay, so being genuine, not manipulative. That's key.
Exactly. It's not about pretending to be someone we're not. It's about genuinely having our own lives and priorities.
Right, so you can't fake being busy. You have to actually be busy doing your own thing.
Let's say we have a woman, we'll call her the chameleon. She's always trying to mold herself into what she thinks the other person wants, dropping everything to be available whenever they call. How might that backfire?
She might lose herself in the process and end up seeming a bit, I don't know, desperate.
It could definitely create that impression. Now imagine a woman who's the grounded goddess. She's got her own schedule, her own hobbies, her own friends. She's happy to make time for the person she's dating, but she's not going to rearrange her entire life for them.
Okay, so she's got boundaries.
Yeah.
And she's not afraid to stick to them.
Exactly. That creates a sense of equality and respect in the relationship.
And it shows she values her time, which makes him value it more too.
I love that. Okay, point number 5 is the what's he doing effect.
What's he doing? Sounds intriguing. Like a little game of cat and mouse, maybe?
It's not exactly a game, but it does tap into that innate curiosity we were talking about earlier. By not constantly updating the other person on our every move, we leave room for their imagination to wander.
Ah, okay. So instead of giving them a play-by-play of our every move, we create a little bit of mystery.
Let's say we have a guy, we'll call him the play-by-play. He feels the need to narrate his every move to the woman he's seeing. Just had a bagel for breakfast, on my way to the gym now, that kind of thing. What might that do to her interest level?
I think it would probably fizzle out pretty quickly. It's like, where's the mystery? What's left to discover?
Exactly. Now imagine a guy who's the man of mystery. He shares just enough to keep her interested, but doesn't feel the need to divulge every detail. He lets his actions speak for themselves.
Now that's a guy who keeps you guessing. It makes you want to know more, figure him out.
Because now she has to fill in the blanks. She starts to wonder about him, to piece together the puzzle of his personality.
And that keeps her engaged, keeps her coming back for more.
This is giving me so much to think about. Okay, point number 6 is making her chase you.
Ooh, now this sounds controversial.
I know, right? Are we suggesting that women should be the ones doing all the pursuing?
Hopefully not. That would be a bit old-fashioned, wouldn't it?
Not at all. It's not about reversing gender roles or forcing anyone to do anything they're not comfortable with.
Gotcha. So what is it about then?
It's about creating a healthy balance of effort in the relationship.
Ah, so both people are putting in the work, both showing interest.
Exactly. Let's say we have a woman, we'll call her the initiator. She's always the one texting first, planning dates, making the effort to move things forward. How might that impact the dynamic?
Well, I think it can become a bit one-sided, like she's putting in all the effort and he's just coasting along.
And that can lead to resentment and frustration down the line. Now imagine a woman who's let's say, the magnetic muse. She's confident, self-assured, and allows the guy space to pursue her. She doesn't shy away from showing interest, but she's not constantly chasing after him.
So she's sending out the signals, but she's not overdoing it.
Exactly. She's creating a space for him to step up and show his interest.
And that makes it all the more meaningful when he does pursue her, right?
Precisely. Okay, point number 7 is showing her you're not dependent.
Okay, so this is about being self-sufficient, not clingy.
That's it. One of the most attractive qualities a person can possess is a strong sense of independence.
Absolutely. Because it shows you're not looking for someone to complete you.
Exactly. Let's say we have a woman, we'll call her the clinger. She constantly needs reassurance, always wants to know what the other person is doing, and seems to lose herself in the relationship.
Yeah, that kind of neediness can be a bit overwhelming.
Now, let's contrast that with a woman who's, let's say, the empowered empress. She has her own passions, her own goals, her own life that she's excited about.
He's got her own thing going on.
And that makes her so much more attractive. It shows she's a complete individual with her own sense of purpose.
She's not relying on him for her happiness.
And that takes the pressure off of him and allows the relationship to breathe.
This is making me realize I might need to work on my own independence a bit.
We all do. It's a journey. Okay, are you ready for point number 8?
Hit me with it.
Okay. It's the appeal of mystery.
Ooh, I like this one. We talked about this a bit earlier, right?
We did. It's about recognizing that a little bit of the unknown can keep things exciting.
Like a good thriller novel.
Exactly. When we reveal everything about ourselves too quickly, there's no room for intrigue.
It's like spoiling the ending of a movie. No fun in that.
So instead of laying all our cards on the table right away, we allow the other person to uncover our layers gradually.
Like peeling back the layers of an onion, bit by bit.
I love that. Let's say we have a guy, we'll call him the oversharer. He spills all his deepest secrets, his childhood traumas, his insecurities, all on the first date.
Whoa, too much information.
Right. Now imagine a guy who's the intriguing enigma. He shares just enough to pique her curiosity, but doesn't feel the need to reveal everything all at once.
Okay, so he's selective about what he shares. Keeps some cards close to his chest.
And that makes him so much more intriguing.
Because she wants to know more. She wants to understand him better.
This is making me realize I might have been a bit too eager to share in the past.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to practice holding back a little.
It's a skill, for sure.
Okay, we're almost there. Point number 9 is stop over-explaining yourself.
Oh, I think I'm guilty of this one sometimes.
Me too. It's a common trap, especially when we're feeling insecure or anxious in a new relationship. We start over-explaining our actions, our thoughts, our intentions, all in an attempt to avoid conflict or seek reassurance.
And it usually ends up doing the opposite.
Exactly. When we're constantly explaining ourselves, it can make us seem insecure, needy, or even desperate.
Yeah, it's like we don't trust our own judgments, so we're looking to the other person to validate it for us.
And that can be a major turnoff. People are attracted to those who are self-assured, who trust their own judgment, and who don't feel the need to constantly justify their actions.
Makes sense. Confidence is sexy.
Let's say we have a woman, we'll call her the explainer. She's constantly justifying her choices, apologizing for her opinions, and seeking reassurance from the guy she's dating.
I can imagine that would get old fast. It's like, just relax.
Right. Now imagine a woman who's, let's say, the self-assured siren. She owns her choices, stands by her decisions, and doesn't feel the need to constantly explain herself.
Now that's a woman who knows what she wants.
And that confidence is incredibly attractive.
Because it shows you're not afraid to be yourself, you trust yourself.
Okay, last but not least, point number 10.
Right?
Showing her you can walk away.
Ooh, this one sounds a bit intense.
It is a powerful one. But it's really about self-respect and setting healthy boundaries. It's about recognizing that we deserve to be in relationships where we feel valued, respected, and appreciated.
Okay, so it's not about actually walking away all the time. It's more about the mindset.
It's about knowing your worth and not being afraid to walk away from situations that aren't serving you. Let's say we have a woman, we'll call her the people pleaser. She's constantly trying to make everyone happy, even if it means sacrificing her own needs and desires. She stays in relationships long after they've run their course because she's afraid of hurting the other person's feelings.
Oh, I know people like that. It's heartbreaking, really. They end up hurting themselves in the process.
Now, let's imagine a woman who's the queen of her domain. She knows her worth, she sets clear boundaries, and she's not afraid to walk away from situations that are no longer serving her.
She sounds like a force to be reckoned with, in a good way.
It sends a clear message that she values herself, that she's not willing to settle, and that she's confident in her ability to create a fulfilling life with or without a partner.
And that makes her so much more attractive, because it shows she's not desperate.
Exactly. So those are our 10 points on stepping back to attract. What are your initial thoughts?
Honestly, it's a lot to digest. It's like a whole new way of looking at relationships.
It is, right? It's about shifting our focus from chasing external validation to cultivating our own inner worth.
And trusting that the right people will be drawn to that.
Exactly. And you know what? It's not just about romantic relationships. It's about all our relationships with friends, family, colleagues, everyone. When we prioritize our own well-being, when we set healthy boundaries, and when we're not afraid to walk away from situations that aren't serving us, it impacts all areas of our lives.
It's like a ripple effect.
So what are some key takeaways?
Well, for me, it's realizing that scarcity really is attractive. It's about not giving ourselves away too easily.
And it's about being comfortable with a little bit of mystery.
Yes, not revealing everything about ourselves right away.
And of course, it all comes back to self-worth, knowing our value and not settling for anything less than we deserve.
It's about being the prize, not the pursuer.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for part 1 of this deep dive. We'll be back with part 2 soon, so stay tuned for more insights on stepping back to attract.
Can't wait. Welcome back. We were just talking about how being willing to walk away, can be surprisingly attractive.
It is, right. It's kind of a power move.
It shows you have self-respect. You're not afraid to stand up for what you deserve.
Exactly. And it's not just about dating, This applies to all kinds of relationships.
Oh, absolutely. Friendships, family, work relationships. Knowing when to walk away is crucial.
So how do we actually put that into practice? Walking away is easier said than done, right? Especially when feelings are involved.
It's tough, for sure. But I think it starts with being honest with ourselves about what we need and what we won't tolerate.
Okay, so you have to figure out your non-negotiables, those deal breakers.
Exactly. What are those things that just absolutely won't fly in a relationship? Once you're clear on that, it's easier to spot the red flags and know when it's time to move on.
So you know your deal breakers.
Yeah.
Then what? Do you just, announce them on the first date?
Haha, no, not exactly. I mean, you don't want to scare them off right away.
But you also don't want to waste time on someone who's not aligned with your values.
That's the balance, right? I think it's more about communicating your needs and boundaries as things progress.
So not necessarily laying down the law, but just being clear about what you're looking for.
Exactly. And observing how they respond to that. Do they respect your boundaries? Do they try to meet you halfway?
Okay, so communication is key. But what happens if those needs aren't being met, even after you've communicated them? Then what?
That's when the rubber meets the road. You have to be prepared to take action. Maybe that's having a more serious conversation, setting firmer boundaries, or in some cases, realizing it's time to walk away.
Yeah, and that's hard.
It is hard, but it's also empowering.
Because you're taking control of your own happiness, right? You're not settling for less than you deserve.
Exactly. Staying in a relationship that doesn't align with your values or needs, that's not doing anyone any favors.
It's just prolonging the inevitable, really.
Sometimes, walking away is the kindest thing you can do, both for yourself and the other person. It gives both of you the opportunity to find relationships that are a better fit.
Okay, I can see that. But earlier, we were talking about how scarcity can be attractive, right? Isn't walking away the ultimate form of scarcity? Won't that just push people away?
It seems counterintuitive, but that's the interesting thing. When you demonstrate a healthy detachment, it actually makes you more appealing.
So it's not about being cold or indifferent, it's about having a strong sense of self.
Exactly. You're basically saying, I'm awesome, and I'm not going to settle for anything less than what I deserve.
And that kind of confidence is super attractive.
It shows you're not desperate, you're discerning, you're not looking for any connection, you're seeking one that truly enhances your life.
It's about quality over quantity. This whole conversation is making me rethink my approach to relationships, for sure.
It's a mindset shift, for sure.
Okay, so aside from being willing to walk away, what are some other practical things we can do to embody this stepping back philosophy?
Well, I think one of the most powerful things you can do is focus on your own personal growth and development.
Invest in yourself. I love that.
Exactly. When you're constantly learning, growing, expanding your horizons, it makes you more interesting, more engaging, and more attractive.
Because you're showing the world that you're not stagnant. You're not just going through the motions, right? You're actively creating a life you love.
And that kind of energy is contagious. It inspires others to want to be a part of it.
It's like you're sending out this signal that says, hey, I'm over here living my best life. Come join me.
I love that analogy. And it reinforces the idea that we have more control over our relationships than we often think. We don't have to chase or settle.
We can create a life so magnetic that the right people naturally gravitate towards us.
Exactly.
This is so empowering. It's like you get to decide what kind of relationships you want to create. You get to set the standards.
And the more you align with your authentic self, the more you'll attract people who vibe with that.
So it's not about changing ourselves to fit into some mold. It's about embracing our individuality.
Absolutely. Our quirks, our passions, our unique perspectives, that's what makes us interesting and attractive.
I love that. Be yourself unapologetically.
That's where the real magic happens.
Because when you're comfortable in your own skin, it gives others permission to do the same.
This is so freeing. It's like you don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. You can just be you. And the right people will love that.
That's what it's all about, finding those genuine connections.
It sounds great in theory, but I imagine this journey isn't always easy.
Oh, it's definitely a process. There will be ups and downs, challenges, moments of self-doubt.
But the most important thing is to keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep trusting yourself.
Beautifully said. And remember, it's always okay to walk away from anything that's dimming your light. Now, are you ready for the final part of our deep dive? Bring it on. I'm excited to hear what else you have to share. All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive. It's been fascinating, hasn't it? Exploring this whole idea of stepping back to attract.
It really has. We've uncovered some pretty counterintuitive strategies.
We have, thinking about everything we've discussed, letting the other person pursue, not being afraid to walk away. I realized something. Our communication style plays a huge role in all of this.
Absolutely. I mean, how we communicate, especially in those early stages, sends a powerful message.
Like, think about texting. If you're always the one initiating, always bombarding them with messages.
Yeah, that can get overwhelming fast. What's the message you're sending there? Neediness, maybe a little desperation.
Yeah.
Not exactly the recipe for attraction.
Exactly. But if you're more, measured with your communication, giving them space to initiate too.
It creates that sense of balance, right? Like, you're interested, but you also have a life.
And you're not sitting by the phone anxiously waiting for their reply.
That's key. That sense of independence, it's super attractive.
It's almost like you're saying, hey, I'm cool, I'm confident, and I'm not going to chase you.
Because you don't need to.
And then there's the content of our communication, what we choose to share or not share.
Oh, the mystery. We can't forget about that.
If you reveal everything about yourself right away, it leaves no room for curiosity.
It's like reading the ending of a book first. Where's the fun in that?
Right. But if you're a little more strategic, hold back a little. Keep some things to yourself.
You create that air of intrigue, that desire to know more.
And it makes the whole process of getting to know each other so much more exciting.
Like peeling back the layers of an onion.
Exactly. So communication, it's about being mindful, respectful of their space, and leaving a little room for mystery.
It's not about playing games, it's about communicating authentically in a way that keeps them wanting more.
I'm realizing now that I might have been a bit too eager with my communication in the past. Definitely food for thought.
We all have our patterns to work through, right? The important thing is to become aware of them.
And adjust our approach as needed.
Exactly. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier. Self-worth.
Ah, yes, self-worth. It's really the foundation of everything, isn't it?
It's the key. When you truly value yourself, you naturally attract people who value you too.
And you're less likely to put up with anything less than you deserve.
You're not going to chase, you're not going to settle, you're not going to let anyone disrespect your boundaries.
Because you know your worth.
That confidence just radiates outwards. People can sense it.
So if there's one thing I hope our listeners take away from this deep dive, it's to invest in their self-worth. Nurture those passions, chase those dreams, prioritize their well-being.
It all starts with you. When you love yourself, you give others permission to love you too.
And when you create a life you love, the right people will naturally want to be a part of it.
And those are the relationships that will truly light you up, the ones that are built on mutual respect, admiration, and genuine connection.
That's what we all deserve, right? To feel seen, valued, and loved for who we truly are.
Absolutely. And sometimes the best way to find that is to stop chasing it and start embracing ourselves.
So to all our listeners out there, remember, you are worthy of love, respect, and genuine connection. Sometimes the most powerful way to attract those things is to stop chasing and start embracing your own unique brilliance.
Let your light shine. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. See you next time.